live.
Sweet. So, man, I guess this is the first time I've recorded an episode of Selfish Things since,
It's been a year.
It's been like a year, yeah. So I guess I should give some background for those 4 fucking people who used to listen to this podcast. What happened to my former co-host, Steve? So Homeboy had a baby. He had a baby. He made a person, and his wife produced.
In a lab?
Yeah, in a woman. He made a person and had that person, and now that person. Last time I saw that person, like walks and crawls and things like that. So it seems like a perfectly pleasant, small human child, and he's been busy.
Right.
But I told him when I saw him last week that I would find a way to bring him back on into the podcast, because now that he's settled into being a parent, I think he feels as though he can carve out some time again where the chaos of initial parenthood has worn off and he's slid into a beautiful routine of whatever it is they do during the day. I don't know. My kids are old now. I don't know what babies do anymore other than shit a lot and eat a lot and cry a lot. I don't know.
Yeah, they do a lot of that stuff.
I don't want any more babies. No babies for me.
You take up time.
Yeah, so I wanted to relaunch this, and I needed a new host, and so you'd been on the show a couple of times doing super fights and things like that, and you and I have known each other for a long time, so I guess the welcome is welcome to Seven-ish Things. I am your host, Merlin, the Wizard, and we have Ryan Burns, our new host, the Warrior, coming straight out of Austin, Texas, by way of Scottsdale, by way of Wichita, Kansas. So
absolutely,
yeah, welcome,
the
Ryan.
K.
Yeah. So what's your fucking story? Who are you?
I'm just a guy who likes all kinds of things 80s. Mixed martial arts, that's my sport. Been watching since the first UFC. I remember my dad took me to the very first pay-per-view. Super sketchy. Didn't tell my mom where we were going.
The first
we were going to watch
cage fighting, no weight limit.
Yeah, very first UFC. The one where the guy, the very first one, Hoist Gracie showed up, and everyone's like, who's this little guy? It was amazing to see all that stuff. I was instantly hooked. I thought, that's exactly what I want to do. Went on to have one mixed martial arts fight. I won actually twice during the fight. Kind of sketchy. But ended up choking the guy out twice, but whatever.
You choked him. He went to sleep.
Beginning.
He woke up. You choked him out again?
Yeah, I think it all comes down to my friend was the referee, and he was my coach, and he wanted to see me beat the guy up some more.
Oh, that's brutal.
100%, I guarantee that was what it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're 1-0.
Love 80s movies.
1-0 in UFC career. In your MMA career. You didn't make the UFC. 1-0 in your MMA career by way of submission twice. Okay.
Yes. Rear naked choke.
What was that guy's name? First name, not his last name. Don't. Otherwise, I gotta bleep
Chase.
it. Chase.
Yeah,
that dude deserves to be choked. Anybody named Chase deserves to be choked. Actually, I got a cousin named Chase. Not a real cousin, like a cousin, like a friend cousin, like one of my dad's buddies from growing up has a son who's, for all intents and purposes, a cousin named Chase. He's kind of a badass. So I'm not saying he could choke you out in a ring, but he's pretty good on a hockey rink.
Yeah, I'm not good on skates. I've never been on skates.
I played.
I imagine that similar to rollerblading.
Yeah,
which I'm definitely not going to do.
When I lived in Canada for 3 years, I ended up in a floor hockey league, in a church floor hockey league, and it was
shoes. You have shoes on?
Yeah, shoes on like a basketball gym floor. And there's never been. I'm reasonably athletic. Like I can shoot a basketball, I can D up, I can play baseball. I grew up playing all the major American sports, none of them hockey. So you put a stick in my hand. I never played lacrosse, I never played hockey. I never played anything that required an implementing tool beyond your hands and the ball. So when I guess I played baseball, but that's a little different. And when I got to floor hockey and had to carry this ball at the end of a stick, I've never felt more awkward in my life. It was so silly, and I was playing against
these... Did you tell anyone?
Oh, yeah, they knew as soon as I grabbed the stick. These guys had...
did you admit to playing this sport? Have you ever admitted to playing this sport besides this moment?
Yeah, of course. course. These guys grabbed a stick before they grabbed their dick. That's how long they've been playing hockey. So they would, from across the court, pick where in the net they wanted to shoot it. Not, let me shoot it at the net. I'm going to shoot this in upper V left, upper V right, lower V. I'm going to shoot for the goalie's 5-hole. All this stuff. And I was concentrating on hitting the ball. It was brutal. It was a long season. I ended up getting a goal because someone shot it at me. They shot it at my stick, which then ricocheted into the goal. That's how embarrassing that was. All right, so that was in Kansas. You were 1-0 in your MMA career in Kansas. And then how did you get from Kansas, or from Wichita, Kansas, West Philadelphia, born and raised, how did you get to Bel Air? How did you get to Scottsdale?
One of my buddies lived out in Scottsdale, and he's always telling me you have to come out there, so I went out to visit. I think over, like, Thanksgiving. I want to say it was right during Thanksgiving. I came out to visit, and it was just an amazing place. Loved it, and I moved out. I moved there in December 31st. Left Kansas with a foot of snow, pulled up to these amazing all glass condos, Optimo Camelview in Scottsdale, $1 million condos, and parked the rental car, or the rental truck, or whatever it was, the Penske truck we drove the whole time. It was like 18 hours. It's terrible. Got out and looked and saw a brand new Dodge Charger that was orange and had it painted like the General Lee. I was like, I got to stay. I was like, I'm home.
Yeah.
Get hear the banjos.
Yeah. So that was what year? December 31st, what year? That was 2000 what?
2007.
2007. So 11 years ago. You moved, you took the plunge, you moved to Scottsdale. And then how long were you in Scottsdale before you met the General? And for our 5 listeners, the General will be a reoccurring character on the show, and probably have a guest spot or two. But the General is Nikki, Ryan's wife, probably the most fit person I've ever met in my life. But so how long until you met the General?
We met like 3 months in.
So right away. Like you didn't,
yeah.
You weren't on the Scottsdale market very long.
No.
You went, I found this beautiful woman who can break me in half, and that seems like I'm just going to ride this bitch into the ground. Not her, the bitch.
That's
the
right.
situation, the bitch. I would never call Nikki a bitch. She would kill me. And she's not one. I would never say that to her. That's not nice. But you're going to ride that train right off the cliff.
Yep.
Okay.
I knew the second I saw her, I was like, I got to keep this one.
Yeah. Well, she's awesome. She's an amazing woman. So you met her 3 months in, and when did you guys get married?
We got married in 2010.
2010. So you were dating for how long were you engaged? Or you guys elope? Did you just fuck it? Let's get married?
We got married in Fountain Hills at this wonderful golf resort. Okay. Pretty awesome.
So you dated her, you started dating her 3 months in, you guys dated for what, 2 years before you proposed?
I proposed about a year in, and then it takes time.
Yeah, it takes time.
I believe it's about 1.5 years total time from first met to marriage.
All right. When did she's an immigrant. When did she become a U.S. citizen? By marriage or by test?
Well, I mean, technically she became a U.S. citizen by marriage, but she was no way going to let that happen. Yeah. So she went and took the full test. We would ride in the car together every morning, and we would listen to the test. Like I downloaded, had it like repeating and stuff. I mean, I learned a lot. I had no idea. There's no way you could pass that test unless you actually study presidents and government and things like that. Yeah.
One of the things I like most about Nikki is that she clearly has a work ethic that's unparalleled, right? She'll when she wants to do something, she's going to do that thing. And she is, in a lot of ways, for me, sort of that great American immigrant story, right? Without getting too much into where she came from and how she got here. She came to this country, established herself, built something, decided to become a citizen, became a citizen, had a great job, found a career, and then in a very sort of beautiful American story said, there's something more that I can do that I'm more passionate about, and I want to become a small business owner and pursue that and do these things. And you guys are in the midst of that right now with opening a real physical gym.
she has a physical location and opened last week.
Yeah, that's amazing. Congratulations to you guys. That's phenomenal.
A lot of work. A lot of work. It was I'm just gonna go ahead and say it was an abandoned trike shop before this, where they're building custom trike motorcycles.
Nice.
I mean, the owner couldn't be happier to get us out of there, or to get them out of there. I mean, they showed up. It ended up being two guys living in an RV fixing like boats and go-karts. Just bizarre. And he was like, you can't live in front of the shop. And they have a really nice, really nice repair shop right next to ours. And that guy was just freaking out because he has a legitimate business, and these guys were just collecting parts, just piles of trash. He said, I have no idea where all this stuff came from. It amassed in a matter of 2 days, and then they were gone in like 3 days.
Okay. So you and I met for background purposes. You and I met because when you got to Scottsdale, you were working at Ultimate Electronics, among other things, I imagine.
Yep.
Doing consumer electronics, home theater, AV sales, floor sales, commission base, slanging home theater for the man up until that place closed. And meanwhile,
it was super easy.
Yeah. And meanwhile, I find myself in Scottsdale working for a subsidiary of a consumer electronics or an IT distributor, a consumer electronics distributor, looking for phone-based sales guys, which wasn't really your jam. And when you walked into my office for the interview with that squirrel on your head.
Are you referring to my amazing hair?
Yeah. So,
is that what you're referring to?
Yeah. So when I met you, did I have hair when you met me? I don't recall.
Yeah, I think you did.
Yeah, so my hair was falling out like it was on fire. So I eventually started shaving it, and you walked in, and you had that. I don't think you'd come to terms yet that your hair was falling out. So you had that forward. Let me just comb it forward and pretend I have bangs thing going on.
Well, I mean, the fact is that it wasn't fair, right? The back was just so thick, and I mean, I could have grown a serious mullet. In fact, I did shave it to a mullet when we finally cut it.
Yeah, I have a friend whose 14-year-old daughter, my girlfriend's 14-year-old daughter, has a boyfriend who's got like that puberty mustache thing going on. You know, like I've got a little bit of mustache, and I told her, you need to tell him. She's like, shave it off. I'm like, no, tell him to grow a mullet. He needs a mullet. That's what he really needs to do. We'll get him an iRock Z28. He can grow that mullet out. We'll get him to listen to some Into Deep.
T-tops.
Yeah.
T-tops are a must. And it's got to be a V6. He can't handle an iRock.
No, I don't know, man. I don't know if he can handle a mullet. I think I've gotten to the age now where I think that there's this appreciation for people who can pull shit off that makes no sense. If you walk down the street with and there's been a little bit of that going on right now for the last couple of years with mustaches, where people are trying to make mustaches a thing, and some people
won't happen.
Well, some people just rock it. They're like, yeah, that's that guy. That guy does that. Most people don't, and I feel anybody who has enough swag to go full mullet and just own it, and just not David Spade own it. That's silly. That's stupid. He's making fun of people with mullets. But someone who just goes, yeah, this is how I roll. Not even Steve Bannon mullet, that guy's horrible.
Well, I think that's kind of like where those beards are going. It's like I was talking about that, like, you know, the beards. Like eventually people with beards and those Conor McGregor haircuts, that's going to be looked at as the mullet. Watch this. 10 years from now, people are going to like, remember people used to grow like these crazy beards? Put like oil in them? That's going to be the mullet, guys. Watch.
That feels wildly accurate. That really feels wildly accurate.
I'm not saying it's not cool to have a beard or anything like that. I mean,
but beards have come. Okay, so this isn't on my list of things to talk about. But who, in your opinion, over the course of the last, say, 40 years of movie making, who is your best beard? And I got to guess who's going to be in your top 5. Give me a great beard from movie history.
A great beard? Oh, Leonidas 300.
Leonidas 300. That's a great one. Who else you got? Give me your best beard from, say, an 80s action movie.
Oh, easy. Best action. Oh man,
I've written something down on a piece of paper.
It doesn't have to be. I'm gonna have to say Egg Shen from Big Trouble in Little China. That's a pretty substantial beard.
That's a good one.
You know,
that's
or Lo Pan.
Yeah, by the way, I just showed Rose, Amy's 14-year-old daughter, that movie, and she just kept looking at me like, "What is this? What is this movie?" She liked it. She enjoyed it.
Does TBS still exist? Like,
I don't know. I haven't had cable in 5 years, man. I cut the cord.
I haven't had cable. I haven't had cable since like 2003.
Yeah, I'm a Hulu, Amazon, Netflix, HBO Now guy. So if it's on regular TV, I have no idea. My kids don't know how regular TV works. They don't understand it. They have no idea.
You know what I'm saying? Like if she knew what TBS was, right? How it would just play like the guy movies all the time. It was always that show was always playing on that.
Yeah, for example, if my kids want to watch Swamp Thing, I'm gonna have to go out of my way to show it to them. It's not just gonna be on Channel 12 6 times this year as it was when I was growing up.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so
that's a great.
You go. Wait, there was one beard that I really expected you to say that you didn't, which was Ellis.
Ellis, from Die Hard, yeah.
Yeah. Ellis, just the worst smarmy, douchey guy in the world with that beard. Hey, John Boy.
But he's been that guy. He's been like smarmy like that at least twice. He's the corporate guy in what's it called? Movie with Jim Belushi where he misses. Oh my god, I like this movie. He misses the baseball and then he goes back in time.
Mr. Destiny.
Mr. Wonderful.
Mr. Destiny.
Mr. Destiny. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a good movie.
Yeah, of course it is. He's the bad guy in that one too, where he's going to take over the company, and he's just as bad. I bet that guy's like a really nice person in real life.
Now I'm dead curious. What else this guy? When do you think do you think he's still acting? Do you think he's still out there being bad guys, or I'm looking at him up. I want to know.
Your time's passed. I think his time's passed.
You think his time's passed? All right. So his real name is apparently, let's see, Ellis.
Pendergrass or something like that.
Harry Ellis. Hart. His first name is Hart. Hart Bachman. His IMDb profile page, no beard. So right away. And he's a solid looking fellow without a beard. He looks like he should be on a WB show. Let's see. Active.
Yeah, but not with a name like Hart.
No, he's still acting, man. He's doing TV. He's on some show called Too Old to Die Young. He plays Lieutenant. That's it. A Book of Common Prayer. He did an episode of Criminal Minds, an episode of Royal Pains, an episode of Scandal. I mean, he's paying the bills. He's an episode of Grey's Anatomy. Yeah. Let's see if I can find the last big movie he did.
If it says his character on Grey's Anatomy was an injured, smarmy corporate weasel, that would be amazing.
Looks like he did Urban Legends Final Cut in 2000. He played Professor Solomon. He was in Bulworth as an uncredited political opponent. Did a voice for Batman: Mask of the Phantasm. Oh, dude, that's a great trivia question of Mark Hamill and Hart Bachman were in what movie together? Because I think Mask of the Phantasm is one of the original animated series with.
That is a very, very good one.
Let's see.
I remember watching that with my brother. We were so pumped up to see that.
Yeah, Mark Hamill.
When it came out, they did a lot of good advertising for that. I want to say Pizza Hut. Pizza Hut used to do a lot of those things back then.
Yeah, well, that show, the original Batman the Animated Series, was I went back and watched it recently. It's super good. That's a great show. I bought
the full set. I mean, it's unbelievable.
So, all right. So you go well, back to topic. So you meet Nikki, you get married, and then you come and work for me.
Mm-hmm.
And we worked together for a while, and then I left the company and went to another company. And then I call you up and I say, "Come work for me again." And you say, "Yeah, I definitely liked." Well, you left that company too. I don't want to say the company name. You left that company too. which was, I think, good for both of us. And you went and sold speakers at another company for a while.
Yep, that was fun.
And then, was there something in between? No.
I wouldn't work for you.
That's right. Everybody got mad at me because I poached you again. So I poached you again. You came to work at the company that you work for now, and you've been there for 2.5 years, and you made the switch from selling stuff to selling air. You're a software sales guy, and I should say for those who listen that you're probably one of the best, if not the best, raw salesperson I've ever worked with. That's your compliment. You're ugly as hell, and you smell bad, and you're kind of a pussy, but you're a great salesman, and none of those things are true. But
I'm a handsome man.
Yeah.
I'm very handsome. Bald, beautiful.
Yeah.
Let's go.
It looked like you got hit in the face with a bag of nickels. So you, because of the job that I poached you for, you moved from Scottsdale. Well, you had moved back to Kansas. Why'd you move back to Kansas again? Just that
was my wife's idea. She thought it would be wanted to be close to my parents since her parents live in Norway.
Right.
So
you moved,
it only made sense.
So you moved back to Kansas, bought a house, reestablished yourself there for something like 8 months, right? You weren't there very long.
Yeah, we bought a huge house.
Yeah. So it's Kansas.
She had a wonderful 5-car garage. So you had our whole gym set up in there. We had a lot of clients. But I think it was more of when we parked the moving truck again, that there was, I don't know, what do you want to say, a foot of snow on the ground. Yeah, we don't really do snow.
Well, not anymore, right? Not anymore.
No. It's terrible. Not since I moved to Scottsdale. It's too cold.
Yeah.
If it's below, let's say 60 degrees, I'm not interested.
So
it's just too cold.
So you get the call from me, and you guys, with the company that we were working for, had an office in Austin. So you take the plunge. You moved to Austin. That was what, a year and a half ago? 2 years ago now? Almost 2 years?
It's 2 years ago.
2 years ago. And you've been in Austin ever since. How do you like Austin?
We love it here.
Yeah.
At first we didn't like it because we thought we weren't, because you have to live far out because there's no new houses in the middle. There's nowhere to build, so they're moving out. We live on the outskirts, but we love it. We have lots of places, just wonderful food. Man, the food here is just awesome.
Well, and the bar scene's good, right? The legendary, what is it, 6th Street bar scene?
Yeah. Well, there's two sides. There's the dirty 6, and then there's the new 6. You go to the dirty 6 and you hang out there till about 11:30, and you kind of creep over to the new side. We go to the Domain a lot.
Yeah,
the Domain's kind of like I'd say the Domain's like Old Town.
Yeah, whenever I was working at Scottsdale, I always stayed in the Domain because I like that one hotel that we all stayed at. I still stayed there. I love that place. I like their rooms. I like their weird courtyard. I like their bar. It's in the Domain.
What is it called?
Lone Star? No.
Yeah, it's real nice. It's like
yeah, that place was great.
How would you describe the decor?
Oh, I'd say it was like kitschy Texan with
like glamping. It's like glamorous.
Yeah, it's like glamping. The rooms they all open to the outside, so it's kind of a motel, but it's not. It's fancy. It's got these open courtyards and pools. The rooms all have stocked fridge and reasonable prices. So if you pull a beer out of the fridge in your room, which are these mimic old style 50 fridges, you pull a beer out, it's $2. You go to the bar, they had ciders on tap and local beers, and it's $2 for a beer. That place is awesome. Texas Lone Star, something like that.
Yeah, it's a really nice place.
Yeah, I'd give those guys a shout out. Those guys were awesome. I'd stay there again. That if I were visiting Austin and weren't staying on your couch, which I definitely would be.
We've got 2 extra bunks.
Lone Star Court. That's what it was called. Lone Star Court in Austin, Texas.
Shout out to those guys.
Shout out to those guys if you're looking for a good place to stay that's in kind of the Domain is this shopping center social area of Austin that if you stay there, you can walk to bars, you can walk to movie theaters, you can walk to a mall. It's all kind of
connected. They've got everything.
Yeah, it's all kind of connected. So if you're looking for, we just went and saw the sights around Austin all day, and now we're coming home and we just want to get dinner and have some drinks kind of thing. Stay in the Domain.
Shout out to Louis Vuitton.
Shout out to Louis Vuitton. There you go.
They got the Louis store. They got everything.
So for you, what's the best thing about living in Texas? Texas has this I guess you could say, reputation, particularly for Californians like myself, about what Texas, everything's bigger in Texas, barbecue in Texas, Texas, greatest place in the world. I disagree. I've visited, and I really enjoyed Austin, and I've been in Dallas and Houston. And but for you,
I think it's just
what's your best?
That everybody really likes to live here. So like it's something about that kind of, I don't know, but it's like the Texas pride thing, right? So everything is like, you go to the grocery store, everything's made in Texas. The trucks, the cars, they all say Texas edition or something like that on there. It's just that everybody just really embraces living in Texas. And, the most important thing is that you understand is that you're in Texas first and then the United States second. I believe it's the only flag that can be flown as high as the American flag. Well, it's the same way everywhere.
Yeah, for me, that's always been a bit peculiar, because there's this raw patriotism that comes out of Texas to say USA first, but it's not. I experienced that a little bit in Canada, not so much, not quite pride in the same way, but Canadians have a lot of pride in staging layers of regionalism. That is to say, if you're watching a sport on television and you're in Calgary and that person on the television is from Calgary, someone will nudge you and be like, that's a Calgary boy. If they're not from Calgary, but they're from, say,
awesome.
Edmonton, they'll nudge you and be like, that kid's from Alberta. If they're not from Alberta, but they're from BC or Saskatchewan, they'll nudge you and be like, that's a Western Canada kid. If they're none of those and they're not from Quebec, they'll say, he's Canadian. At least he's Canadian. Yeah, that Canadian boy up there is just really killing it right now. But if they're from Quebec, then it's he's Canadian. He's from Quebec, but he is Canadian. They always qualified, at least in my experience.
Right.
Unless they were from Quebec, in which case they just say he's from Quebec, and they start at Quebec and they end in Quebec. He is Quebecois.
What about shout out to Toca Chico?
Toca Chico? What's Toca Chico?
That's the best thing about living in Texas. So Toca Chico it's like a, I don't know, let's call it clearly Canadian, right? It's just a sparkling water that comes from Monterrey, Mexico. And so that's super close. And they just ship truckloads it over here.
Oh,
it's
glass jar?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, I think so. You're not a LaCroix guy.
No.
So
it's not. That doesn't have any. That tastes horrible. This is like they have twist of lime, they have grapefruit, then they have OG. I mean, it actually has a taste. That LaCroix is not.
I love LaCroix. So I work with my office has a Paris office, so I work with a bunch of Parisians. And we use Slack. Shout out to Slack for our inter-office communication. And on Slack, someone asked the question, does anybody want to weigh in on how this is pronounced? LaCroix is a Wisconsin company near the LaCroix River. So it is, in fact, and you can go to their website and learn this, LaCroix.
Is it LaCroix?
LaCroix. Now, my Parisians did not like this. So their response was LaCroix. And
LaCroix?
And when I pointed out it was LaCroix, they just told me, well, they're wrong. You're wrong.
Well, they can't be, if it's your company, you can't be wrong.
I know.
That's how you pronounce it.
But that was the case. I like LaCroix. I think there was an app description that said something along the lines of it's carbonated water while someone thinks about a fruit. But
right. Well, they have the smaller cans, right? The little tiny ones.
Yeah.
And those I do like.
Yeah.
Those taste good.
They have a cola one of those now. And you take one of those cola ones, right? 0 calories, just a little bit of cola flavor, and some bourbon. Oh, your night's made.
All right.
Yeah, it's called Nicola from LaCroix. Shout out to LaCroix. Those things are the bomb.
I could take that to the dome.
Little bourbon. So speaking of which, on my list of 7-ish things today, I want to get back to the worst thing about living in Texas. But speaking of Nicola and bourbon, so there's this grocery store here in Sacramento where I live called KP International. It actually stands for Coreana Plaza International. Coreana Plaza is a strip mall that some family bought everything in the strip mall, basically everything in the strip mall, and have just combined it all into one giant business. So there was originally an international grocery store. Then they bought the space next to it and expanded the grocery store to be twice as big. Then they bought the space next to that and added a food court, an international food court. Ooh. Then they bought the space next to that and added a Korean barbecue restaurant. Then they bought the space next on the other side next to that and added a giant karaoke bar, and the space next to that and added a pool hall. So they're all owned by the same company.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
It's the greatest grocery store ever for a variety of reasons. One is that you can get vegetables that you otherwise can't get, and if you like weird shit, it's awesome. You want the hot
star fruit, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Bok choy.
Yeah, all the choice. Not just bok, all the choice.
All the choice.
All the choice. All the mushrooms you could want, all the crazy dried shrimp and fish, and I get corned mutton there. I'm trying to eat keto, so a can of corned mutton goes a long way to get into my 4-to-1 fat ratio.
I absolutely love those international grocery stores. I will spend hours in there.
Yeah.
Now, I may not be able to be buying much, but I want to look at everything and inspect it and figure out what it is. I think that's just absolutely the most fun.
Yeah, I've been there 30 times now, and I still end up spending 2 hours every time I go. But here's the other reason why I go is that they sell meat cheaper than anywhere in Sacramento. You get two good fillets for $8. You get a really good.
What kind? Like, what grade?
I don't know. It doesn't say. I cooked them.
Okay.
They were delicious. You get a ribeye there for $6, like a good thick, hunky, fatty ribeye for like $6.
Okay. So I go to Costco. I'm not one-upping you.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you where you should get meat.
And
go to Costco and you buy the blue packages. So that's the prime meat.
You're in Texas.
So there's only right. Well, you can go get prime meat as well.
You're in a beef producing state.
Yeah. I get that. Well, hey, you know where you live. You moved there.
I live in a dairy producing state. California, not known for its beef.
But you can still get good quality beef. You probably have butcher shops or something like that you could find.
Yeah, sure.
But the thing is, you want to get the prime. You get the prime meat. It costs more. Yeah. But prime meat, it's only like a 2% of all the beef can be classified as prime. You can eat it raw. So I buy those big giant tomahawk steaks from Costco.
Yeah,
and I'll cook them.
And I bought those. I have bought the prime meat from Costco, and it's really good. But what I like is inexpensive, good meat. So I'll go to KP and I buy meat for a week, and it'd cost me $20 for if I wanted to eat a really decent to high quality to excellent steak every day.
If I could find
meal.
the meat that they do like the Mongolian beef with, I'm down with that. I don't care what it costs.
Yeah,
I'm down with that.
Yeah, so that's why I go there. They also have some weird shit like I buy smoked butterfish there, like lox, but butterfish.
Ooh,
it's really good.
Really?
Yeah. I buy certain weird cheeses there, Russian farmer cheese. So the other weird thing about Sacramento that not a lot of people know, a little topical and political news, is
this is the best thing. This is the best thing about living in California. Is that what you're telling me?
It's the best thing about living in Sacramento for sure. Sacramento has this huge Russian population. There are hundreds of thousands of Russian immigrants who live in and around Sacramento. And there are...
Really?
Yeah, there's Russian businesses, and that's why they sell a lot of these Russian foods. So getting back what I was saying about this Nicola, one of the sections of this store is an Eastern Bloc, Russian, Ukrainian, Slavic section. And they've been selling, and I sent you a picture of it, and I put a picture of it on the 7-ish Things Facebook page. They sell these bottles of Armenian cognac in these crazy bottles shaped like machine guns, bottles shaped like swords, bottles shaped like high-heeled shoes, bottles shaped in the visage of bullets, giant shells, mortar tank shells, things like that. I haven't tried. They're $50 to $60 a pop. I haven't tried one yet.
You gotta get one.
I know. I gotta get one, but I wanted to do some research first on
why
the quality. Does it matter is the question.
It doesn't. No.
Of Armenian gun shaped.
Well, here's the thing though, right? Unless you drink cognac, you're not going to be able to tell the difference. I had Louis the 13th. That was one of the dumb things I did when I was in Scottsdale. Got a shot of Louis the 13th at a bar, and it smelled like cat piss. I mean, it was okay. I mean, I guess it was smooth, but it just wasn't my thing.
Yeah, I'm not an Armagnac, cognac, brandy drinker, so I'm sure it doesn't matter. sure it would be. It's probably better than I could ever tell, or worse than I could ever tell.
Right. I mean, I'm not an expert, so it just tasted like. I mean, it wasn't bad. It just smelled horrible.
Yeah, I'll put up on the Facebook page a series of these pictures because they're so silly.
Right. And this bottle was already open too, so who knows, right? If it was really the right stuff.
Yeah. Who knows? Who knows? So, what's the worst thing about living in Texas?
I'd say it's the wind and the traffic. Well, we don't really experience the traffic that much unless we have to go down to like South Austin, but the traffic's bad. The infrastructure was not created for this many people.
Yeah, well, Austin's supposedly been one of the fastest growing cities in America for a long time.
I live in like 20 miles of suburbia.
Yeah, well, you live in Pflugerville, which is apparently where he wasn't caught there. He was caught in Round Rock, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but the Austin bomber was of Pflugerville. So he said it was. I don't want to say his name because fuck that guy, but that fella of Pflugerville, the Austin bomber who killed a bunch of people. So your town is famous for that now. That's what you're famous for.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, they think there might be more of them, so it's like, I mean, what a total piece of crap.
Yeah. Well, and
people are, who knows?
Yeah, people are, I don't know, man. It's a weird time to be alive. It's a weird time to be a grown up.
I'm just pissed off that he blew himself up. I mean, it's like kind of funny that he blows himself up, but I wish they would have caught him and like sent his ass to like Guantanamo Bay or something. Shout out to them.
It's a little bit of Schadenfreude, but would it have been better if he had accidentally, say, blown his hands off?
Yeah, that would have been better. And then they sent him down there.
Yeah, he was caught, like, and all of a sudden he's got nubs for the rest of his 80 years in prison until he dies. Like that's gruesome for sure. Maybe it makes me a bad person to wish that upon him, but it's a little bit of Schadenfreude for sure. But I don't know. It feels poetic in a gruesome, disturbing way.
Right, but we could have definitely extracted some information from him.
I don't know about that. That doesn't really work. He would have told you. He would have told you anything. He would have told you whatever you wanted to hear. That's the gist on torture, is that it doesn't work. People talk, but they don't tell you the truth. They tell you whatever they think you want to hear to make them stop, which is why it is
right.
apparent.
So that's why that they say that they get the truth. The truth comes out before they start.
Yeah. Exactly right. So moving on a little bit. One of the other things about you, as this is your inaugural episode, is you've got a passion, as you said in the outset, for 80s pop culture, but also video games. Video games going back, and pinball for that matter too. But pinball, video games, 80s culture, and
absolutely.
A week from today. Well, I guess a week in 4 days, next week. Next week, Ready Player One comes out. I don't think you've read or listened to the audiobook of that, right?
No.
Okay.
You were telling me the book was awesome, though, but I don't really read books.
Book's awesome, and if you haven't, without spoilers, the gist of the book is that it takes place 45 or so years in the future, and there's this guy, kind of an amalgamation of Bill Gates and maybe Mark Zuckerberg, and he creates this piece of software called the Oasis, which is a virtual reality MMO, massive multiplayer online game, and then releases the code open source to everybody. And slowly but surely, the Oasis supplants the internet and becomes the way that people interface and interact online, and becomes probably the more prominent way that people interact, period. And James Halliday dies, and he was obsessed with the 80s and 80s pop culture as well. So when he dies, he emails all 1.5 billion users of the Oasis and all the media outlets this video that he made called Anorak's Invitation. Is his handle, his nom de plume on the Oasis was Anorak, which was a Dungeons and Dragons poll.
Nice.
This video, he puts himself in a bunch of 80s John Hughes movies, dancing and whatnot, and he says somewhere in the Oasis, and the Oasis is thousands of planets big. So if you start walking across a planet in the Oasis, it will take you years to get all the way around. It is a full planet sized, and there are thousands of planets. Somewhere in the Oasis, he's hidden an Easter egg, if you find the Easter egg, you get all of his money, $500 billion, and control of the Oasis. In order to find the Easter egg, he's hidden a copper key, a jade key, and a crystal key that open crystal corresponding gates, and then you find the Easter egg. And so people flip out and start studying the 80s like nobody's business. So the 80s the 80s make a huge resurgence. And the story is about this guy named Wade Watts, who's an egg hunter, which they all shorten to Gunter. So he's a Gunter searching for the Easter egg, and hijinks ensue. But the book is this pop culture megalith of references. So there's a million references, and there's these. When it was announced that the movie was going to be made, fans of the book went, "How are you going to make this? You can't get the sheer amount of intellectual property."
Oh, yeah. I remember you saying that. You said, how are they going to do all that?
Yeah.
Because they need all this permission.
So, for example, Ultraman plays an important role in the book. The old school Japanese show Ultraman.
Right.
So does Spider-Man. So Spider-Man was here's an 70s, 80s reference for you. Spider-Man was the Japanese version of Spider-Man. And Spider-Man had a big robot that he would climb into called Spider-Man. And that robot plays a huge role in the book. Now, looking at the trailer, it seems that one of those two characters has been replaced by the Iron Giant, which is cool. So there's going to be...
Oh, I love the Iron Giant.
Yeah, so there's going to be replacements. And but from what I've seen otherwise, Steve, my old co-host here on 7-Ish Things, said something really, really interesting when I saw him. He made a joke. He said, wow, that book is going to be impossible to make into a movie. If you're even going to get close, you're going to need to go get the greatest director alive. Who'd you get? Oh, Steven Spielberg. You don't say. So I'm optimistic from the trailer. The DeLorean's in it. Iron Giant's in it. The Akira motorcycle is in it.
But they have enough intellectual property that they can probably make it happen.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
So they're definitely going to make some replacements.
Which studio gets it.
Yeah, so they've definitely made some replacements, and there's some storyline changes that I can definitely see. I listened to it with my kids.
Dude, if Indiana Jones is in that, I'm going nuts.
No. Steven Spielberg has said there will be no references to his own movies. No E.T., no Indiana Jones, none of that stuff.
Super sad.
Super sad, but a lot of other hardcore 80s movie references. And my kids and I listened to the audiobook, which is read by Will Wheaton, and it's excellent. If you're looking for a good read, pick up that book. If you're looking for a great listen, download the audiobook. It's awesome. My kids and I listened to it. It was awesome.
Do you think it'll be better than Super Mario Brothers or Double Dragon?
Yeah. So thank you for the transition. I was flipping around online recently, and Uwe Boll, and I'll explain who Uwe Boll is for those who don't know in a minute. He says he's not excited about Ready Player One. And I'm like, oh, Uwe Boll's not excited about Ready Player One? Please tell me more. And I get online, and he put out a tweet that said, and again, I apologize, for this is not language that I would use. This is a direct quote. Ready Player One, ? Ready Player fucking retarded is more like it. So Uwe Boll sends that tweet on March 13th. And for those who don't know, Uwe Boll is the guy who, if you think to yourself, there's never been a good video game movie, it's his fault.
Did he do Street Fighter?
No. So there are some bad ones that he didn't do. Super Mario you mentioned, Street Fighter you mentioned. Here's the ones that he did do.
He did Doom, right?
No, he didn't do Doom. He did all the horror ones. Here's a list of his movies, short list, not
don't say it.
Exhaustive.
I like Resident Evil.
No, he didn't do that one. That's one of the few that's actually decent. These are his movies and their corresponding IMDb rating. Ready for this? He did Alone in the Dark, 2.3 stars. Blood Rain, 2.9 stars. Postal, 4.5 stars. The Blood Rain sequel did better than 0.2 less, 2.7 on the Blood Rain sequel. He did Far Cry, 3.1. This is a non-video game movie, but he did that shitty In the Name of the King, A Dungeon Siege Tale, 3.8.
Oh, that was bad.
And then while I was looking through his IMDb...
Did he even have Jason Statham in there?
Yeah. I'm looking through his IMDb page, and I see that he also did this weird movie about Auschwitz, the concentration camp. And I immediately cringed and went, oh, God, how how bad could this be? And it's a movie that he directed about the horrors and tragedy of Auschwitz, along with some documentary film, and it got a 3.2. A 3.2. That's so bad. So my question to you is, outside of Uwe Boll and his terrible, horrible movie making abilities, for you, what's the best video game movie? What's the best one you've seen?
The best video game movie?
Yeah, what's your best video game? And this goes back to that conversation you and I had about trying to figure out what's the lowest rated movie on Amazon that you love. I don't remember what we decided were the winners there, but so what's your best video game movie? What's some video game movie, whether it's terrible or great, doesn't matter. What's the one that you love the most? Or at least one of the ones you love the most?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I mean, like, I liked the Mortal Kombat movie, the first one. I'll take that one. But I mean, dude, you got to figure out when it was. I remember watching the VHS tape of it. The music was amazing, super loud. I remember going to the movie theater, and they just cranked it. And it just enters Mortal Kombat, and it's just heavy bass and everything. I mean, the acting was terrible. The fight scenes were pretty good.
Yeah, I remember
Mortal Kombat.
I remember most about that movie is Sonya doing the handstand thing. The Hurricane Rana handstand thing in the movie, and going, oh, at least they tried to capture the fighting. Did you ever see that short clip on YouTube of those guys who did the really great Ken Ryu fight?
No, I didn't see that.
You never saw that? It was a live action Street Fighter fight between Ken and Ryu, and it was really well done. I think Dragon in our office, shout out to Dragon, showed me that the first time. And
it's like, are you working or are you scouring YouTube?
Yeah.
Both.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
I was his boss, so I didn't want him to do that. But then again, I also, I was.
So
he did his job great.
Can you please find them? Yeah. Can you please find the most amazing clips ever?
Yeah.
I'd appreciate that.
That was his job. Yeah.
Resident Evil too. I love the Resident Evil movies.
I
don't care if they're terrible.
Yeah, they're terrible, but they're fun.
I like them. It's so amazing though. If they would have just done the movie just like the video game, it would be incredible. They still did a pretty good job. I enjoy them. Max Payne.
I didn't see the Max Payne movie.
It's pretty dark.
I loved the game, man. The game was great. The game I played the first one came out and it had bullet time, which was awesome. It was the first game that really did that.
Yep.
And then they also had quick save. So I would go up to a door in that room or in that game, and I know that in that room that I'm about to go into is probably 3 guys that I have to kill, and I'd have a full bullet time meter, and I'd quick save, and then I'd go into the room and I'd kill them, and then I'd stop and think to myself, I could kill them much cooler than that. So I'd reload the game,
and redo it.
Yeah, then dive into the room with the shotgun, roll, shoot the first guy, punch the second guy, pull out the pistol, cap the third guy, then cap the second guy who I just knocked down, and then I would go, no, I think I can do that cooler. And I had a roommate at the time, and I'd bring him in and be like, let me get your opinion on this. Is this cool enough? And he'd go, nah, you could do that cooler. And we'd play the same scene.
That's the
for
first
2 hours.
Xbox.
No, I was playing it on PC, man. I'm an old PC
Oh,
gamer.
it's Xbox and PC.
Yeah, I'm an old PC gamer, so I played the shit out of that on PC. There was also a game I was playing at the time called Black and White. I don't know if anybody's going to remember this game. That's where you were God.
Black and White's that you had the animals.
Yeah,
they were monsters.
You were God, and people worshipped you, and you had to get people to worship you. And you could be a benevolent God, white, and make your civilization love you, or you could be a dark God, black, and make them fear you. And I always preferred the fear, because what you would do every so often is you would just pick someone up and throw them across the world. You just grab someone.
Or you could make the monster eat them.
Yeah. So you would just be like...
You could eat them, or you could whip the monster and stuff.
Yeah,
it's an amazing game.
So I'd just be sitting there and all of a sudden think to myself, I don't think they fear me enough. Fuck this guy. And I just pick him up and throw him across the world and splatter him against a wall or something, or feed him to the monster, your minotaur creature.
Or like they'd get stuck too, like doing something, and you'd be like looking down, like, why aren't you working? You need to teach them a lesson.
Yeah. That was a power hungry game for sure. What else you got in video game world that I think the new the reason this is important to me or relevant is that the new Tomb Raider went shot for shot on the most recent Tomb Raider game, and I heard it was entertaining. It wasn't terrible. My friend said it was a fun ride. So
Did you like the old ones?
I just watched those recently with my daughter. They don't hold up real well. They're not good. They're silly and they're fine, but they feel very dated. I find that a lot.
Right. They had the right actress for sure.
I
Angelina Jolie is perfect for that role.
I don't think. Yes and no.
She has the look. She has the look.
Yeah, she does. The script's not very good, but I sometimes I go back and watch some of those movies, and they may have been blockbusters. And when I rewatch them, the dialogue's terrible, the acting's hammy. I don't know if I'm just getting cynical, but even going back and watching things like Men in Black, I'm doing a lot more eye rolling than I used to at certain old movies because I know that they're taking themselves seriously at the time. And
Men in Black. The first one was good.
Sorta. Like, go back and watch it again. And
when the guy goes outside and the bug takes him over and he comes in, he's like yelling at his wife. And she's like, Edgar, your skin is hanging off your bones.
Yeah.
Dude, that was one of the funniest things in the movie. I must have watched that scene like 1,000 times.
Yeah. Well, and there's
Water.
Some of those movies I've seen so many times because of home theater demos and things like that I just, oh my God, I can't stand to watch this movie one more time. Yeah, I don't know. I think it pisses me off that I don't understand a director who picks up the property of a video game that may have been taken 80 hours of gameplay to tell a whole story. If they were going to make a Metal Gear Solid movie about Solid Snake based off of any one of those games, you're talking about between 50 and 70 hours of gameplay to establish a story. And the director goes, man, you guys worked really hard on this storyline. I can do it better. And that's what happened with Assassin's Creed, which was a piece of shit. The huge, long storyline that they established over 5 games. And they went, I mean, I get where you guys were going, but you aren't storytellers. And then they fuck it up.
Yeah, but they didn't shit on anything worse than Resident Evil, though. I mean, you have history of amazing 10 out of 10 video games, and they just completely changed everything. I mean, the whole idea about going into this house and then there's zombies in the house and there's a computer and all, I mean, that's amazing. Right. The first and second game, they could have made those movies absolutely unbelievable. I mean, when you played the very first one, I mean, it scared the crap out of me when the dog jumps to the glass.
Yeah, yeah. I don't remember one of my roommates at the time I was playing, I think Resident Evil 2 or 3. One of my roommates was playing Aphex Twin, which is this old school atmospheric EDM band. And it was just dark, and it was way scarier than the game soundtrack. So it was just nightmares for weeks.
Did you play the recent Resident Evil?
No.
The new one?
No.
That came out, like, I think it's 10 or something.
Nope. No, I haven't played that one.
I just played that one. It's scary.
Yeah.
I mean, I was playing at my theater room, had the lights off, had the wife in there sitting with me, and she's like, "This is crazy." I mean, like the way they did it and how they're scaring you now and stuff like that. And then it's in VR. Holy crap! I mean, I was like, I'm not playing this. I mean, like if you put the VR helmet in the way that they're coming at you and they surprise you and stuff. I mean, it's like scary, like hillbillies, like out in the middle of nowhere, and they're like cannibal hillbillies. I mean, that's like super scary.
Well, that's where you grew up, cannibal hillbillies.
No, I don't think so. It was like that.
Yeah, that's Wichita. I'm a California kid, man. That's how I picture the outskirts of Wichita, Kansas. Is just scary hillbillies and tornadoes picking up houses and taking them to Oz.
Yeah, tornadoes only hit trailer parks.
Right.
It's a fact.
So okay, before we jumped on to podcast here, you really wanted to talk about upcoming UFC fights, and I said save it for the podcast. And the first thing out of my mouth was, I'm so excited about Stipe and DC because that's killer. That fight is so ridiculous, and I think it's a absolutely 100% a super fight, but I think it's there are many people who toe in and out of UFC the same way that when I was a kid, people toed in and out of boxing with Mike Tyson. If you asked them who the number 3 contender was, they'd have no idea. If you ask them who the guy Mike Tyson was fighting, they'd have no idea. Like who, Riddick Bowe? What? You know, they didn't know who those names were.
I mean, well, there's a lot of boxing heads, so they would know who he's fighting.
Well,
but this is
yes and no. So I'm saying that the casual fan, the people who toed in and out, like, oh, Mike Tyson's fighting again. Who's he fighting? Oh, he's fighting so and so.
They tuned in for Mike Tyson.
Yeah, that so and so is the 5th guy in the Rocky 3 montage that Stallone beats. You know, they don't care.
What's the guy?
They just
they don't care.
Yeah, they don't care. They just want to see Mike Tyson punch someone out. So in the same vein, UFC fans, like people who watch Conor fights, the people who watched Ronda fights, the people who started to get into, like, that's why John Jones is such a tragedy, is because he was going to be one of those guys. If he could keep his nose empty, his dick in his pants, and not crash his car over and over. But
he's going to fight Brock. We won't talk about that now. But
yeah,
he's going to fight Brock.
You think he's going to fight Brock? Well, I know Brock. So I'm a huge professional
100%.
wrestling fan, and so we can talk about, it's WrestleMania time, so we can talk about that too.
So hold on. Here's my question: if Cormier beats Stipe, he's the heavyweight champion.
Yeah.
So the same thing should work. If Stipe beats DC, he should be the lightweight champion too.
No, because
that only makes sense. No. That's not a good deal. That's not a good trade.
Right, but
it should be belt for belt. I'm still getting it.
Yeah, but they can't because Stipe's too well. So you're saying that if DC loses, DC should lose. Like Stipe can't have the belt because he weighs 240, 220.
Right.
But
I get it.
But you're saying that DC should lose the belt. Daniel Cormier should no longer be light heavyweight champion if Stipe beats him, and that belt should be essentially because what will happen. So at the end of this fight, what you're saying, regardless, is there should be no light heavyweight champion, because if DC wins,
no. What I'm saying is it's just silly because DC has everything. This is the point I'm making: is that DC has everything to gain, and Stipe has only something to lose. He's fighting a smaller opponent. Yeah, he's fought in heavyweight, and he's undefeated at heavyweight at that. I'm not taking anything away. DC's amazing, but what I'm saying is that it's Cormier is in the better position. So if he wins, he becomes the heavyweight champion, and he's still the lightweight champion. But if Stipe wins, he doesn't become the lightweight champion. He only has a chance to lose his belt and defend it. Well, it's not really a good trade.
Yeah,
but
yes.
I'm super excited that someone's going up a weight class to fight.
Yeah, I
like this.
So I see what you're saying, and you're right that Stipe has nothing to gain other than notoriety, money.
It's money.
Yeah, it's money.
It's all a money fight.
Money. But
he really doesn't have anyone else to fight. Who's he supposed to fight? I mean, they're all dinosaurs. And, he's a really, really good fighter. But, I mean, if you look at the rankings, I mean, there's some pretty salty records up there.
Well, yeah, and you're not going to throw you're definitely not going to have a Francis Ngannou get a rematch until he beats somebody. Particularly beat somebody in the 3rd round. I was so excited to watch. You warned me that we were getting honey dicked on that fight, that Francis wasn't as good, and I was on the Francis train. I was so excited. I thought he was going to just catch Stipe with one of those monster, giant, ridiculous hammer punches from. He reaches down into the pits of hell and swings that across the globe and smacks people with it, like he did with Alistair Overeem. He hit Overeem so hard that they're still looking for his head in the 3rd row. That's what I expected.
Yeah, that was a bit weird. I didn't expect Overeem to do that, not at all.
Yeah.
And the problem is just like this, is Stipe hasn't had his chin checked as many times as everyone else. Overeem's one of my most favorite fighters ever. And he's been knocked out like 20 times.
Yeah, he
just can't take a punch.
Well, he's got brain damage. He's definitely remember Chuck Liddell was the same way. Chuck Liddell had a iron jaw, and he just got knocked out one too many times, and then.
Yeah, you only get your ticket punched so many times, and then that's it. Yeah, it gives out.
Here was the metaphor that I came up with the other day. I was thinking about this. Is how sometimes you get a electrical socket that you plug something into too many times, and now every time you plug it in, it just falls out.
Yeah, exactly.
That was Iceman, and I think that's Overeem now, where I think you can just.
It's Overeem, it's Arlovsky. It appears to be. I mean, it's going to be Verdum soon. So if you look at the heavyweight rankings, Stipe is a champion. Francis Ngannou is still ranked number 1. And you still have Overeem ranked number 2.
What about Curtis Blades, though? See, that makes no sense. So Stipe, yeah, Overeem should not be ranked number 2. Curtis Blades should be higher in the rankings.
Curtis is 4. You got Volkov is number 3.
Yeah, and Volkov got.
So the problem is that everybody's just old or they've taken losses. There's really no one in there. I mean, the bottom like 4 people. You got Stefan Struve just took a loss. He's ranked 11th. You've got Alexei Olnek. He's ranked number 10. He just won. Arlovsky's 9. Verdum just took a loss, and I didn't even see the guy he lost to on here. Who did he lose to? I'm losing my mind right now. He just lost like last weekend.
Oh, I didn't watch it. So I was out on the last UFC.
He lost to this super stud Russian guy. I think it's Alexei. And he's not even ranked higher than that. Makes no sense. No sense whatsoever.
Yeah, I was looking forward to they were going to do. Did you see this?
No, that's it. He lost to Volkov. He lost to Alexander Volkov. That's right.
Yeah. So I think you're going to see. So John Jones is going to come back, hopefully for at least more than one fight. Brock Lesnar is most likely going to come back and have a money fight. Not a. He's not going to. He's going
to fight John Jones. We know that.
But
basically, you're looking at, right? You can't
Hunt's done.
Mark Hunt just lost.
Yeah.
Verdum just lost. Overeem just lost. Ngannou just lost. The only person that hasn't lost that's ranked in the top, let's say 6, is Alexander Volkov, who just beat Verdum.
Yeah.
So that's the only other max that Stipe can fight.
Right.
Which is exactly why they're fighting. He's fighting DC. Because they don't have anyone for him to fight.
Yeah, DC's a well, but it's a super fight too. He doesn't have anybody to fight, and so let's replace that by having 2 of the best wrestlers we've ever had go at it. And
absolutely, let's talk about this. Tony Ferguson Khabib fight.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah. So this is for the interim belt, right?
No. Connor's been stripped. Connor's officially been stripped. This is for the championship.
So this is for the championship. No, there's an interim belt out there, isn't there?
No. Ferguson was the interim champion.
So this is
Khabib would have been, but he missed. Not Tony Ferguson, the interim champion, and then they made him the full champion because they stripped Connor's belt.
Okay. So we've got Tony Ferguson versus Khabib, and that last Khabib fight, man, Khabib.
It was horrible. He's just oh my god.
I love fighting. I've been watching boxing since I was a little kid, and love fighting. Love the artistry of it. Love the strategy of it. I love good knockouts. Don't get me wrong, but I like a good fight. But I watched that Khabib fight, and there were times where I was just make it stop, make him stop.
Well, the thing is, he's so good at what he does, and it's just like he's like, I'm gonna go in there, I'm gonna take you down. There's no surprises. I'm going to take you on the ground, and I'm gonna break you. He's like Ivan Drago. He's like, I must break you. Well, he takes him down, and he's yelling at him the whole time. He's like, you have to stop. Who did he fight? He fought Michael. I want to say it's Michael Johnson. I think that's his name. He fought him, and he was just beating the brakes off that guy so bad. And he's like, you must quit. He's like, you must quit. I've broken you. It's over.
Yeah.
And he's just pummeling the guy so bad.
Well, it was and his last fight was so bad, and people thought, who did he fight in his last fight? I'm sorry, that was
Barboza.
Yeah, Barboza, and people thought Barboza, he's a puncher, he's gonna. Barboza just got it was violent in a way that fighting normally isn't, and I know that's a bit of a oxymoron to say that.
Barboza has a solid wrestling background.
Yeah,
he's very good at wrestling.
It was.
And who was talking about? They were trying to in his camp. They're saying we never take him down. We can never take him down.
Right.
And Khabib just took him down like it was just easy.
Well,
and the guy was just like, "What the fuck, man?"
It reminded me of those early Ronda fights where the division hadn't caught up to her yet, and you walked in you sat down to watch a Ronda fight, and you go, okay, she's gonna go for that arm, right? She's gonna throw some punches. She's gonna judo hip toss this girl. She's gonna uranagi her to the ground, grab that arm, and tap her out. everybody knows it, including the girl. And she's not even trying to beat Ronda. She's just trying to not get tapped. And you just, here it goes. And it was the same thing in that Khabib fight but it was against an opponent that had no business getting owned like that, except for the fact that Khabib is so fucking good. It's just,
I think it kind of goes back. It's kind of just like when the first time that if you ever enter any kind of sports or mixed martial arts or anything like that, the first time that you really feel just absolute strength, you just get snatched up. You're like, oh, I'm tough. I'm the winner. I'm gonna take on this out. And then somebody grabs you, and you're like, I haven't been grabbed like that since my daddy grabbed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like that fearsome strength, and they grab you, and you're just like, oh no, there's no escape.
Yeah,
that's with him. So I mean, who's your pick on that one?
I can't pick against Khabib. I can't pick against him. That Barboza fight was so violent, and he just kept hitting him over. And I was like, if this is, who stops this? I don't know that Tony Ferguson can stop that. And Ferguson,
no, he can't.
What I love is, one of the fun things about the fight game is the shit talking, and listening to Ferguson say that his plan for UFC 223 is to embarrass Khabib. That's like,
he's been saying this the whole time. He's gonna get mauled so bad. I'm not gonna let the UFC honey dick me on this one. There is no fucking chance for him.
Yeah,
he has zero chance. He has to know that. There's nothing you're gonna do. This dude is going to wrestle him.
Yeah, there's no way. I'm learning my Ngannou get off the train lesson. I was on the Ngannou train, and you told me that was what was going to happen. And then just that third, fourth round of Stipe just sitting on Ngannou against the cage was me going, shit, fucking Ryan was right. God damn it. It was embarrassing for Ngannou. It was embarrassing how gassed he was too. Like, he didn't work on his cardio at all or his ground game. But that's beside the point. It was more along the lines of just, man, the hype train got me. The Dana White hype train got me. And I know that they're doing that with this Ferguson Khabib fight, that Tony's a contender. But yeah, I can't. I'm not going to fall for it again, man. I'm not going to fall for the marketing hype. I don't even think this fight's going to be close. And I don't want to take anything away from Tony Ferguson. He's a bad motherfucker. But Khabib, it'd be like the TJ Dillashaw was supposed to fight Mighty Mouse, and that got pulled. And
TJ would beat him.
He's
just bigger. He's I don't know. That'd be an amazing technical fight. But let's run through this card real quick. So the co-main event is Rose versus Joanna again, the rematch.
Yeah.
Who's your pick in that one?
Thug Rose.
I think Rose gets her again.
I think Thug Rose gets her again. Thug Rose is.
I think we're all yelling Thug Rose.
Well, Thug Rose, for a couple of reasons, is that I don't think she's not an unserious fighter, and I don't want to imply that, but listening to her talk about how she trains and the way that she trains, and by the way, that episode of the Joe Rogan podcast with her and her boyfriend talking to Joe, and Joe would ask, so Rose, tell me about your training, and the boyfriend would just slide in and go, well, we do these methods and these techniques. Awesome. And I said out loud in my car while listening to that probably 30 times, what we asshole. She's
yeah, you got a mouse in your pocket.
Yeah. That girl.
Nah, he's a stud.
Yeah, so she is a stud, and I think there's that term overtrained, where fighters overtrain and they're learning muscle memory. She's a good fighter, but she's also a little undisciplined in a good way, sort of in that John Jones way. In that John Jones, I'm gonna throw some wild shit out there. She comes from. She's got a very storied background. Grew up poor. Grew up in the wrong neighborhood. That whole thing. But there are some funny things. She trains with men too. Yeah.
To help her get tough, and she trained with Pat Barry was telling a story about how she was telling a story how Pat Barry had to rough up Melvin Gillard. So Melvin was training with her, and then he's like, okay, all right, now we're going to spar next. And so him and Melvin were sparring, and he was kind of teeing off on Melvin a little bit. Melvin's 155, Pat Barry's heavyweight. And Melvin, he's like, all right, couple more rounds. And Melvin looked at him and he goes, you mean we have another round? He goes, yeah. And he goes, oh. He goes, for what I did to Rose? And he goes, yeah, exactly. So there's a little bit of checking going on, gym egos and stuff like that, but
yeah,
all kinds of stuff.
So yeah, I got to go with Thug on this one. Rose is too. I think she's too good, and she's kind of wild, and I like that. I like it when they get wild. I like it when they're unpredictable fighters, in that they don't know what they're going to do. So you can train against him. You can train against John Jones, and you know that he can wrestle and he can throw and he can punch, he can kick. But what's he going to do? Good fucking luck guessing that, right? DC, you know he's gonna take you to the ground and wrestle you. Stipe's the same thing. That's why that's an interesting fight. Could be a really boring fight to watch if you're not a fight fan, but it's going to be...
No, it's going to be a good fight. There'll be a lot of good stand-up.
Yeah.
Hopefully there might be some wrestling in there. If DC picks him up and slams him like he did Dan Henderson, that would be amazing.
Yeah. So yeah, I got Khabib. I can't say no to Khabib. I got Rose. This Renato Qatar fight. They're number 11 against the number 13. I don't know much about these guys. I think I saw Renato fight before. He's 11-1 against this guy Calvin Qatar, who's 18-2.
He just fought Brian Ortega, lost to Brian Ortega. No shame in that game.
Yeah.
But otherwise, all of his other fights were pretty much nobody's.
Well, and not only
he beat
that,
Jeremy Stevens, a split decision that was a little questionable.
Yeah. Well, and Renato's 11-1. He's never knocked anybody out. He's not a punching guy. He throws, but he's not a guy who's gonna knock you out on your feet, or at least he hasn't yet. But one of the fun things about UFC is that people are always training and always working on their game, and so you might get a guy like this who comes out and says, you know what, all I've been working on is throwing hands. All I've been working on is throwing feet. And those are surprising. My favorite fights, by the way, to watch are two nobodies who I don't know, and one of them's super soft in the midsection, doesn't look like he's
like a doughy
guy against a guy who's just chiseled. And I go to this bar here in Sacramento, Alley Cats, love that place. Shout out to Alley Cats, to watch fights. And I go with Amy, and she doesn't know any of these guys. She doesn't know who Khabib is. She doesn't know. She knows who Conor and Ronda are, and that's it. And Brock. And so we'll watch these fights, and I'll say, who do you think is going to win this? And she's like, well, that guy clearly looks like he's in better shape. And you have to go, okay, now watch what happens. And then you get into the end of round one, and the chiseled, 8-pack.
That doesn't always pan out, though. There used to be this statistic where it was about, what the heck is it called? About people's tattoos. Certain fighters, if they went and got tattoos at a time, there was like a statistic that they would lose.
Well, yeah, that's most likely causation versus correlation. Those are two different things.
No, but they did a statistic on it on SureDog. I remember I could find it somewhere. It was a long time ago where they had that statistic.
That's not how statistics work. Statistics don't work that way.
No, they went through all the fights, whatever it is.
Yeah.
They went through all the fights, and they checked fighters, and when they got tattoos, there was something about if the guy had tattoos versus someone who didn't, they were more likely to lose.
Causation versus correlation. Those are two different things. There's that Pettis fight that's on that card. I think Pettis is, he's good. I'm going to take Pettis in that fight. I think he's the underdog. I'm not sure.
I got Michael Chiesa. He screwed up in his last fight, so he's going to be all right. Who did he fight? He fought Kevin Lee. That was for the chance to fight Ferguson for the interim belt. So sorry he didn't win, but yeah, I'm taking Chiesa on that one.
And then
I got
who do you got?
Alaquenta for the other one.
I got Alaquenta.
I can't say his name.
Yeah, Paul Felder. Yeah.
He's a stud too. That'll be a barn burner.
Yeah.
The Irish Dragon.
Has it been announced that CM Punk has another fight? So as I said, I'm a huge professional wrestling fan, so I'm interested.
Floyd Mayweather is the only fight that makes sense for him in the mixed martial arts.
Yeah, well, I think in retrospect, putting him against Mickey Gall is pretty good, man.
Mickey Gall is really good. He should fight. Van Damme.
He should fight Van Damme. Oh my God, I would pay real money to watch CM Punk.
They'd pay a lot of money
versus Rob Van Dam in a UFC ring. Oh my God.
No. Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah, that's what I said. Jean-Claude Van Damme, JCVD.
I thought you said Rob. I was like, no,
oh, did I say Rob Van Dam? I might have said Rob.
Yeah,
no, I meant Jean-Claude. I'd actually pay money to watch him I'd watch a shoot fight backstage between CM Punk and Rob Van Dam. It is getting near WrestleMania season, so I got professional wrestling on the brain.
Well, we got to wrap this up. I've got to go.
All right.
I got a new pinball machine here.
Oh, what's your new pinball machine?
Attack from Mars.
Attack from Mars. All right. So what did we cover? We covered Texas. We covered you. That's 2. Video games. We talked about Ready Player One. 3. We talked about UFC 4. Video games. I don't know. It sounds like 7-ish things. We'll talk about all.
It's 7-ish things.
7-ish things. Cool. So we'll try to do this weekly, give or take. And
we need to do it weekly.
Yeah, we'll try to do it weekly. We'll try to get an episode up. So I'll get this uploaded pretty soon, and then we'll get you guys, I guess, on the flip flop for our next episode. If anybody out there wants to get a hold of me, I am at Smoking Hamlet on the Twitter. I'm also at Merlin Love or at Merlin B Love on Twitter, at Merlin B Love on Instagram, at 7ish Things on the Twitters as well. Are you out there? And
I'm on I just kind of spy on Twitter. I don't post anything, but at Glock on Fire. No, I'm at the real Ryan Burns for some reason. I thought that would be a great Twitter handle.
The real Ryan Burns.
But if there's another one. At Glock on Fire on Instagram. I like Instagram.
Yeah, I like Instagram too. Cool. All right, that's all we got today. So until next time.
The Wizard and the Warrior signing out.
Thanks, man. We'll talk to you next time, buddy.